This is not music. Gratitude for feeling this. I'm the architect of the frequency. The AI is the instrument. This is my frequency signal, King. If you ever think about me, and you ain't gonna do no revolutionary act, forget about me. I don't want myself on your mind if you're not going to work for the people. Fred Hampton. I need to tell you a truth that feels like a betrayal. But the betrayal isn't mine. The betrayal happened in 1675. The betrayal was ink on paper that turned your soul into a category. Stop breathing the smoke, look at the fire. Check the ledger, check the law.
Great Wednesday, and welcome to the Fully Human Trendy podcast. I'm your host, King. I'm joined by my co-host today, Jess. How you doing today, Jess?
I'm doing great. How are you doing? How are you doing today, King?
I'm doing great as well. So what's your spiritual energy number? Start with
I'm
that.
10.
You're a 10?
I'm 10. Feeling grateful to be here today.
I'm a 10 with you as well. I live at a 10. I'm living in gratitude. So what you grateful for? Let's get your list. Talk.
Yeah, I'm grateful for this space in San Diego where I'm currently sitting. I'm grateful for this day, for my breath, for my inspiration, for my wonder, for my gift of creation, to be alive and to be here with you, King. I'm grateful for this opportunity to speak about being fully human.
I feel you there. I'm grateful for my life, my health, my ability to see, hear, walk, talk, stand, breathe, and have a sound mind. I'm grateful for that 24 hours to pursue my purpose in life. I'm grateful for my problems and my challenges because I see those as opportunities to grow. I'm grateful for the people who uplift me. I'm grateful for the infinite possibilities that this day is going to provide. And I'm finally grateful for the technology to give us capability of being in different cities, but still being able to connect and co-create. So I'm grateful for that opportunity. Now, the name of our theme song is Race is a Lie. And we just really want to get right into that, what we mean by that, and why we have this particular perspective. So before we get into that, though, what I want to do is just give you an opportunity, and I want to add this to our show as well, is share with me the most significant thing you've learned since last week about yourself or whatever you want to share that you feel is a learning experience that you went through and an opportunity for growth.
Yeah, I feel like this learning experience that I got last week is something that I've been waiting for my entire life. So thank you for asking that profound question. What I noticed is that I've been looking, or I've been seeking. I've been a seeker to figure out what's underneath my suffering, what's uncomfortable. And what I'm getting now is that there has been an undeniable grief. And it was like I was so conditioned with it from a young child that I didn't even know that's what I was carrying. And this last week, I had an opportunity to release that. I had an opportunity to be with my birth mother, the one that I've been grieving. And that has made a profound shift in my life, created a lot of healing between the two of us, and really erased for both of us a lot of the story that we were carrying about each other.
That's great. Gratitude for sharing. Now, how does it feel?
It feels liberating. It feels also humbling to have those moments with her, to hear the stories that she released about me being half my father and the man that she ran from. So there's a lot there to unpack and also just to let go, because now that it's out, I understand that is the magic that we have, that when we release those old stories that keep us in the state of grieving, that we're stuck with that. I'm stuck with that reality when I hold on to that, or she's stuck with that reality when she holds on to that. So by witnessing her releasing it, I also see the relief in her of not having to carry that. And then it opened up a space in her where she said she could fully love me. and fully accept me and fully see me as a pure potential of possibility.
That's beautiful. I'm glad you had the opportunity to have that experience, and that's definitely a great lesson to learn, and I feel and resonate with your sharing of it. You know, I would say one of the greatest lessons I've learned this week is this, and it happens on my morning walks. Every morning I go out and I walk around this lake in the area where I live, and there's these Canadian geese that's out there every day. And it's about a mile and a half walked around the entire lake. And in different pockets of the lake, these geese are located. And what's interesting about them is they're very docile creatures. They stay on their side of the grass, and it's a path through the grass we humans walk and bike through. And that's agreement that we all have, in which we share the same energy and the same nature space. And within that sharing, and I've been walking there every day for at least about a year and a half. And I never noticed this until one day I was walking with a friend of mine, and he got too close as I was walking side by side that one of the geese walked up to the edge of the grass and hissed at him as they back up, right? He jumped. He literally jumped from where he was at on the outer side and to the inner side of the pan. And he didn't understand why the geese did that. Then later on, the next day I was walking around that path, I saw ducklings. And I went, oh, okay, they're ducklings. They're protecting their ducklings. And it reminded me of the fact that even at a very instinctual level, mothers are willing to just step into danger for their young ones. And that geese, even though we're huge compared to that geese, is willing to confront us as human beings. And so you step into the boundary, get it back. You're getting too close. And I be damned the consequences. And that's instinct.
Yeah.
Difference between the geese and the human is that we have instinct, but we also have, as Stephen R. Covey talked about, that first whisper of conscience that comes to our mind. Or as Victor Frankl talks about, that space between stimulus and response, that second. You have the thought and then you get a response, that second, what's there, right? And that is instinct for us. And that instinct is controlled and programmed by the construct, then that's not in our best interest, right? And we've seen so many people go through that, who are entertainers and stars who will tweet something in a moment just because they're feeling a certain emotion, they will just tweet it. And they don't realize, no, I didn't really mean that in that context. You got to take that context because the emotions were there, and they did something that typical old people back in the day, when people who had followings and things to lose, that they got the wrong message out, had PR teams and messaging to filter that kind of thing. You couldn't just go straight to the public with an idea or thought, and now you can. And that raw emotion that you're going to bring is going to be clouded and programmed by the construct. This dark energy matter is going to be feeding you, and that gets fed through the construct. We literally get told through our programming that whatever you choose to watch, you're going to get more of. So in my world, if I just look at left-leaning news, and I think the whole world is left-leaning with me because that's all the content I get, right? And it's not the reality. It's someone else is getting extreme right-leaning content, or extreme gay content, or extreme Black content, or extreme whatever it is their interest is. That's the content that's constantly being fed, constantly in their mind, constantly reinforcing that identity that was taught to them when they were children by their parents and by their cultural givens. And as a result of that, we have to carry this 50% tax of energy on us as we navigate this identity that was given to us, that we did not choose.
Yeah. Now we even have an algorithm that's going to guarantee that you stay in that construct.
Exactly. And you stay in the energy, you stay in that space. And then what that does for you, that once you get and I'm going to show this on the screen here, and this is what I create, this graphic that asks, what's your identity? And here's a person, if you saw this person walking down the street towards you with all these different symbols, what would you say they are, right? What do you think they're representing? If they had one of those symbols, then you would clearly understand what they're representing. Oh, if it's a MAGA hat, I know what they're representing. Or if it's a Muslim scarf, I know what they're representing. Or the Star of David or Black Lives Matter, I know what they're representing. The rainbow belt, But when somebody's wearing all of these, it's a pattern interrupt. You don't know how to judge them. You don't know what container to put them in. And it's not freeing, because a person would wear all of this. I believe a person would wear just one of them. You can be controlled to wear all of them at a certain point in your life, because the messaging is the same. It's giving you an identity, telling you that you're the victim, and then reinforcing messaging so you can see that you are the victim, that everybody else is external to you, and they're the reasons why you're suffering. And so that's when your hate and vitriol should be aimed at those individuals, because everybody's different than you.
Yeah. I can even see that I've worn some of these symbols myself throughout my life, and that I've taken them off and put others on.
Exactly. And we have, because that's how we're programmed. As again, my friend and coach Reggie came a term cultural givens. You're given that by your parents. You're given that by your community. You're given that by your religious doctrine that tells you that you're a Christian. And that, tells you that you're a Muslim. It tells you whatever your religious dogma is. I'm not judging anybody in this question. I'm just asking you, when you identify that and you lean through that lens, that perspective, the only question I have for you is, what is that doing for you as far as a piece of soul? If you lean into the identity that you are Black, white, straight, gay, Christian, Muslim, and you lead with that with pride, my question is, what does that do for you as it relates? Does it make you a kinder person as a result? Do you believe and have a more love energy as a result of you choosing that identity? And is it making you overall better person? And the answer is yes. Then let me know more about it. How is it? I would love to learn.
I know I have felt the yes at times when I have taken on that identity, that label, and then I've found myself in that bubble. And it's created a sense of belonging. But now I get that's a false sense of belonging, because it's based on my outer construct. It's based on the people in that bubble giving me feedback. And therefore, it is a feedback loop.
Exactly. And it's just a way of classifying people to control you. Again, the algorithm is only going to give you what you want. And then once it learns what's important to you, now it can feed you anything you want within that lens, as long as it's couched in that lens. Or if we use a food analogy, as long as it's flavored with that spice, then you like it. And you're going to be find it palatable to you, and you're going to keep consuming it. And then before you know it, it becomes your shadow. And it's your shadow element that comes up at times that you don't even expect it to come up. You didn't realize that it did come up, because you get triggered by somebody attacking one of these conscious uncollectives that we are part of, the uncollected conscious.
And I'm curious right now if you're noticing the shadow that's in the field. Did you hear the jazz music in the back?
I did. Yes.
What if we just kept that going? Nobody noticed it. And I'm trying to hear you over that.
I didn't realize it was loud as it was.
It wasn't that loud, but it was like bringing your point home.
Interesting, man. The timing was great. I really do believe the universe is conspiring in my favor.
Yeah.
And I believe it's there to do it in everyone's favor. I don't believe I'm any more special than anyone. I understand that and I accept it and I operate within that lens and that perspective. But identity, I believe, is really so important, because it's going to determine how you identify yourself. It's going to determine how you see other people.
Right.
So what I mean by when I say it is this: if I hop on a Zoom call, which most of my business is 90% or 95% virtual right now, so I'm hopping on Zoom calls with people from around the world, because technology gives me the capability. And what aligns us, and the reason we're hopping on that call, is because we saw something in our profiles that were in alignment. And so we're hopping on the call, we can discuss and look for ways that we can co-create, right? Because everybody's in that space now, at least the people I'm connecting with are in that space of wanting to connect, engage, and co-create.
Yeah.
But if I see myself as a Black man and I identify that, then when I hop on a Zoom call and I see someone, I'm gonna look at their race first. Then instantly, even unconsciously, they gotta be viewed in my mind with the question: are they racist or they're not racist, right? And whatever she's looking at me and she's saying, whatever comes to her mind is gonna be, again, what was programmed by the construct.
Right.
And whatever image that she may have seen or she associates. And so now we both got to make that dance around the race question while we try to learn about each other and feel each other out. Whereas if you identify as fully human and you state that boldly, that realize that my identity is being fully human, that I am a source of energy. As Einstein says, that energy is everything and everything is energy. And I believe that. That if I'm an energy source, then you are an energy source. And then take it to the next level of quantum entanglement, that we're actually connected, that we are not even separate from each other, nor are we separate from the universal oneness that which is the creator. If you really want to take it there, right? And so that's the path I'm on. That's the journey I'm on, is leaning more into that belief and more importantly, that knowing, as opposed to before what I was taught was a belief. I just had to believe that was the case, even though it really makes sense that I get told that just December 25th is the day Jesus is born, but then he's killed on Good Friday, but then Good Friday always changes. Why is Good Friday never the same date every year? Because it's based upon the spring equinox. Well, Christmas is always December 25th, so we got the day he was born supposedly anchored in, but the day he dies, there's a dynamic switch. No one questions that. We just accept. And that just shows you that how the construct can take away your critical thinking without you even realizing it. And then you find yourself fighting for a position, fighting for identity that you didn't even name yourself that.
Right.
So what comes up to you when you look at that image, Jess? I got on my soapbox there for a minute. What comes to your mind when you see it?
He's confused. Doesn't know which box to put himself in.
You see him there too, huh?
Yeah, I see a masculine. So yeah, I'm already identifying, right? I'm like profiling. Yeah, I see a lot in that. My mind already just goes to labeling, identifying, classifying, profiling, just because it's there.
And it's funny how all these identities now are political identities as well. And the person is going to vote based off where they fit in that identity. And then the marketing and the messaging is to that person best once you're in that identity. And I believe, again, this is unscientific, but it's my belief. And this is what I believe everybody should get to, a point where you have your own understanding of different things that you relate to your study of quantum physics and your studies of sacred geometry and your studies of metaphysics and all these other higher forms of intelligence, that you study these things and create your own belief systems and understandings. They should advance you in a more positive direction in your life.
Yeah.
That's what should be the goal of it, right?
Yeah.
It should to make you a better person, to help you become more abundant in your life, right? And as you become more abundant, your definition of abundance changes. Your abundance initially may be, I want financial abundance, because that's what you've been taught and that's what you consider to be valuable. But then if we look at someone who's considered to be the most financially abundant person in the world, I ask you, who would want to switch places with Elon Musk? Now, you might say, I want his money, but you don't want his problems. So you really don't want his money, because his money's going to come with his problems. It's not going to just come with the money and he keeps all the problems. It's not how it's going to work. You want his money and you want his problems. You want his self-image, that he can go anywhere on the streets and not be attacked for his political beliefs. You want that energy, right? So what that teaches me is that money is not everything. And the construct's valuation system of money being the key thing to determine whether someone's worth is on this planet is not the best way to value somebody.
No, material value is really empty.
And what do you feel in your life has taught you that lesson? And what would you say that you're currently doing in your life as a result of knowing that lesson as well?
Oh, yeah. Currently going through a process of noticing how bankrupt I've been with the material seeking, with the money seeking. And I've certainly done a great job of it in the material world, of generating income and getting the material things and being in the places where material is glorified. But I'm currently in the process of letting go of that construct I've been on a journey for the last 6 months and really on a quantum leap journey since I connected with you, King, of really consciously choosing to step into a different frequency, a higher frequency, and the quantum possibility that we have as we all come through our own lineage of the construct, that we step into a higher frequency of love. And that currency is unlimited, and it doesn't hold the same false identity as the material world. It is energy.
Exactly. It is exactly energy, and energy is everything, and everything is energy. That is so critical to growth and understanding, because without that understanding, then you really believe these physical forms that we are, these skin suits, are who we really are. And if you believe that, and I've seen this happen literally in
Yeah.
cities that I've been in, where there's been individuals I've met who've never been out of that city their entire lives. Now they're 40 years old, older. And can you imagine how limited their perspective is on the world, have never been out of that city? Anything that they've experienced in their life is a result of their city's experience. So they've never been to another country. They never had different food. They never even been to a different state within the same United States.
Yeah.
And that is such a limiting perspective that person would have on the world.
So when you go through that process that I said, where you identify and you put yourself in that bubble, it's actually very limiting. Yeah.
It is. And it's
There's
not
any quantum possibility in there, right? There's just one possibility.
exactly.
So, yeah, together.
Exactly. And that's where the shadow now, as we talk about with Carl Jung, and how you and I both know that we're involved in different other triads and groups, circles, sticks, whatever you want to call them,
Mhm.
of other people that we're building with, and how much Carl Jung comes up in those conversations, the shadow element. And it's funny how people relate to that differently.
Mm.
And what I mean by that is, from the folks I know who truly have spent years studying it, it's not everybody, but certain people I know who spent years studying Carl Jung, his methodologies, his teachings, his writings. And they've mastered the intellectual understanding, but not the applicability in their own lives. It's much the same as a Christian who can quote you Bible verses and never show Christian activities or Christ-like activities in their behaviors.
Yeah, you got the narrative, but you didn't embody what you were narrating.
Exactly.
And you couldn't.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's built that way.
But then people like Carl Jung comes along, and people like Alan Watts comes along and teaches us that we're operating as the universe. The universe not happening to us, we're operating as the universe. And then we
Yes.
one and the same. And there's the oneness there. That we are one with that daisy that we believe that we see on the path of my walk every morning.
And not only are we the daisy, we're the root that goes down to the soil, and we're the roots.
Yes.
And there's that part that you don't see. Like, how often do you look at the daisy and then uproot it and check out its roots?
Not often.
That's the excavation, right? That's what we're doing. We're actually stopping and looking at that.
And what does that look like to you when you pull up a daisy by its roots? What does the roots look like?
What it looked like for me this week when I had the conversation with my mom as we were breaking through the construct of the shadow element of our family and our relationship, it looked like I uncovered the roots of a German father and a gypsy mother. And I was like, oh, there's my conflict. Hadn't really looked at that part. I've just been looking at the beautiful flower and not really looking at the roots and what's underneath. Though I know they're there and they've been driving me, they might, there's a whole lot going on down there. And what brought me into that was death, was grief work, was actually being there as the shadow is being dealt with, the shadow of death. And that teaching really allowed me to step into what life is about and how death teaches me more how to live.
Mm.
Because when I'm actually looking at my death, when I'm actually facing it, similar to our friend Rachel, who was just in a space of facing it, and she actually looked at those roots and then said, let's give them some nurture. Let's pour some water on these roots. Let's give these roots some good soil. Let's love up this daisy so she can keep growing. But it took a minute to go look at that. Yeah.
It took a minute. And it also took intent. So it has to have a desire to want to look at that as well. A lot of
Right.
folks don't want to do that. And you
No.
can't look at that. I don't believe you can look at that if you see yourself as a victim. Because if you see yourself as a victim, then you believe that the problem was outside of you. You've been attacked because of your identity. So you're not going to look inward to make that change. You're not going to pull up your roots because you already
Right.
know what the answer is why you're in that situation.
Right. Maybe that daisy is starting to wilt and you're just looking around being like, who sprayed the weed killer over here? Like,
Right.
who sprayed the weed killer over here?
Right.
And you're just all up in arms about it.
You know, but you said something that's interesting, and I definitely want to have you open to it,
Yeah.
unpack a little bit more
Sure.
to see what I'm curious about. Because you say your father was a German, thinking and believing in that old German way of.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my dad, he worked a lot on liberating himself from that. And he was definitely suffering from that construct. Yes. Of like control and power over. Yeah. And the destructive force that is, and how much he followed that path during his life of creating those destructive patterns of anger and control, destruction and power over, that then like he's faced to deal with the consequences of that. And it was ultimately deadly.
You know, what's interesting to me, I don't know if you ever thought about this or put this in this perspective, but for him to have that kind of cultural givings as his background, but still find interest in a gypsy woman.
Right?
You see what I'm saying? He should be thinking like, I'm more superior than you. You're beneath me. You know,
Right.
why would I have an attraction to you romantically on any level?
Oh, I have a story about that, of how that even happened. Because his father passed away and then his mother became a single mother holding both roles. And he didn't think his mother should have a role that is controlling or telling him what to do. And his mother was a Baptist, and she was determined that he follow in that culture, that religion. And he was adamantly against her and listening to any of her advice. And so the best thing that he could do to rebel was to actually go find a gypsy. And not only that, but like a Catholic gypsy.
Mm.
Because that just, yeah, that lit the spark.
And see, in my mind, and where I am at this level and moment in my maturity and continuum, is that I receive that as his conscious mind made a decision that way. The universal soul lessons had a different strategy. And sometimes that's why we get connected and don't understand why people come together.
Mm-hmm.
Because your life was created as a result.
Mm-hmm.
So their union had to create your life.
Yeah.
Right. So it was necessary for that to happen. So him making those conscious choices, they may not necessarily been to come create a daughter, but that's what happened because of the choices he makes. See, I truly believe that as energy, we come through in our human form so that we learn what it means to be our true essence of
Yeah.
little G's as creators. And we have that divine ability to be creators as well. I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
But when we come into the world, we have to remember that. We don't know that. We come into the human mind, and the human mind is not equipped with that memory. but our soul is. Our soul recognizes what it's supposed to do. And most of the time we just get in the way of our soul and make bad decisions.
Right.
But again, if you look at your life was created as a result of that union, and look what you're talking about, look what you're doing and how you use that wreckage to now put yourself in a position to talk about some of the things you're doing. So what are some of the things that you're doing?
Yeah, I'm really standing in this space of elevating my frequency every day, like having the choice to choose a different construct and the construct be without the construct, which is to allow that soul to be fully expressed, allow myself to just speak up to the parts to any of the parts. And in that, like really step into an identity of being fully human. And that's been a practice. Walking the 180-day journey with you, stepping into my own wild rhythm, which is my nervous system regulation technique, is allowing me to feel and sense somatically the beat of my own drum, the beat of my own essence, and understand this individuation that is so incredible and beyond a bubble, like some previous united container where enough people got consensus to say this is the way, and to say that's just not the case for me anymore. There's no longer any consensus reality that I'm going to hang out in. And more than anything, I'm going to break the consensus and say, no, this individual spark here has its own unique flair and identity and feelings and beliefs. And because I know that about myself, now I can see that same potential in you. And I give you that same freedom.
That's beautiful. Now, what are some of the things you're doing from a services perspective of how you're living this higher purpose service into the world?
Yeah, as I'm stepping into the higher frequency of love, I'm connecting with source and feeling my internal compass as to who to hold in love, where to share love, how to give love, how to be of service, how to really find in my realm deserving souls to contribute my time and energy to. And I feel if everything is energy and I am energy, then where I attune my attention is the most important decision I make each day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And speaking of which, you talked about fully human. I want to bring up the image that shows the 4 agreements of being fully human, so folks can understand when we talk about being fully human, what we mean by that. And it's basically, in essence, these 4 agreements that we adhere to. And that's why it's so important, because we say they have to be spoken before being. In other words, meaning that you have to believe this before you actually do this. And that is, number 1, as you laid out, energy is everything. Einstein said it. Tesla said, if you want to understand the universe, look at it in terms of energy and frequency. So it's there. There's no way around it. You can measure our food, the trees, the energy coming from the earth. You can measure the energy in that. We literally, when someone needs to be resuscitated, they shock you back to life, actually energy into your body. So we are energy, and food is energy, and energy is everything. Your thoughts are energy, and that you create the world that you see and you experience through your thoughts. And when you really understand that, not just intellectually, but to a point of making decisions based off the thoughts that you now create, it's a different kind of living, different experience.
Yeah.
And then you understand the energy in constant motion. Number 2 is either in constant motion or decrease. It's not staying the same. So if you're standing still, you're still moving, because energy is moving. Your cells are moving through your body, right? The energy is constantly moving. Number 3 is what's either a decrease or an increase. We want to focus on the increase. That's our choice. We say we want to be, that's our true north, is how can we always be in increasing space? Not that we always will be, but that's where we get our true north back to. And that's our intention. So when we're not, and we're being a decrease, we can say, let me stop being that. Let me focus back on the increase. And that's what keeps us being fully human. And then finally, number 4 is our identity is fully human. We identify not by our race, our gender, our sexual orientation, our political affiliation, our ethnicity, our religious dogma, our trauma, our careers. People, I'm a doctor. And what do you want me to do with that? What does that mean? When people say that, is what do you, so unless you set that standard, how should I respond to that? Are you expecting respect and reverence because you spend more time getting educated and regurgitating someone else's facts? I'm impressed you did it, but it doesn't improve my life at all. So, or, does it make me feel lesser as a person because I haven't made that choice?
Right.
And that's the reality that I understand. And I hold both dualities at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's that I see about being fully human.
Yeah. I also see that in this fully human, we're breaking out of the scrambled noise. When you're meeting someone and they're coming up with that identity label, it's to say, I'm in the construct. I'm in the material world. I'm seeking these areas for where I can belong. So to completely dismantle that construct is quite an expansive journey, like quite a journey of evolution to stand on no ground, but to be lifted, to be held, to be free of that construct is very liberating. The conversations we're able to have that aren't limited based on those trigger points is really opening us up to connecting with many conscious leaders on the planet.
Absolutely. And people from around the world that we're taught to judge because they don't have the financial wherewithal, so they must not be as educated, they must not be as cultured, it must not be whatever you want to put there, because the construct told you how to value people, as though people who do have money and do have houses and cars and all these things in their culture show you that they're better humans. No, they don't. We see they don't show you they're better humans. As a matter of fact, the more money you have and the less better human that you are, and the more financial resources you have, shows your shadow is going to really take over. And that's what we see over and over again, that people sit here and make these bad choices when they have all this money. And we're like, how could you be even thinking that? If I had that money, I'd be doing this. And I believe that you wouldn't be. That's the point. That's the reason you don't have that money, because you wouldn't do the things it takes to get that kind of money, that you would be fine with doing that activity after the money as well.
Right.
Right.
I see that in a lot of areas that can show up in the money area. It also shows up in the spiritual circles.
Absolutely. You make a great point there. And I actually recently wrote a Substack article about that, because I believe that I've been a part of so many different conscious movements, whether it's business, whether it's earth, whether it's community-based, whether it's dealing with dogs, caring for animals, so many different grassroots communities I've been a part of in my life. And I've seen every element of people in those movements who come together because we want to protect the earth. And that's the reason you come into a meeting together, a gathering, a hall, and that common interest there. Yeah, that works for a little bit until you start learning more about the person beyond the fact they like recycling.
Right. You accidentally open up a conversation that's not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so those things never really grow beyond just becoming social circle. And when you get to the point where, as I say, I'm in my last quarter of my life, I'm not going to choose to keep investing in social circles. I'm not looking for someone to talk about sports with, men to hang out at the barbershop. I'm not looking just for a friend to spend time with. I'm looking to co-create, connect, and build. And now building friendships through those endeavors are going to be richer to me than the latter. And that's where I want to begin to really get people to understand that's the creative liberation space that I'm in constantly, because I no longer live by the racial construct. And again, it's not about bypassing race and being post-racial. And as some people might look at this and say, letting white people off the hook. It's not even about that. It's about the fact that quantumly is not possible and race never exists. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
Right.
And what I really appreciate about it, King, is that because you hold that belief when my shadow comes up, it's clearly reflected for me. That's the opportunity of being in a fully human community. It's
Explain
not
more.
shadow goes away because I'm holding this fully human identity, but it's that I'm open to seeing it. I'm open to hearing it. I'm open to handling it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, digesting it.
And so what you just described to me is that I look at it as the triangle of the self. And the triangle of the self is that at the top of the apex of the triangle is the observer. And that's what you ultimately had just described becoming. You become the observer of your physical, of your feminine, and your mental and your masculine energy that we all contain.
Yeah.
And you're able to sit here and see and make, instead of letting one or the other control you, which is the contract tells us that your masculine, if you're a man, your masculine energy must be the dominant. If you're a female, your female energy must be dominant, or there's something wrong with you. Where
Yeah.
we're made up of both energies. And
Yeah.
we need both. The duality in order to be fully human, we need to learn from both.
Yeah.
And the observer allows you to listen to both sides without taking each one personally.
Yes.
And realizing that, as again, Alan Watts teaches us, that thoughts can just be no more significant than passing clouds. Oh, cloud, interesting. It's going to be gone in a minute, and that cloud will no longer even be a phantom. If
Right.
that's how you treat your thoughts, as, oh, interesting, anger, it's there. I don't have to act on it. I don't have to lean into it and become anger and let anger now become my dominant choice. I can choose peace. But you recognize that. So again, as you talk about, it's not about being perfect. You're going to have your shadow element that's going to be a part of who you are. And you need that because the shadow helps you. Sometimes you need to see the darkness in order to recognize there's light. If you never had darkness, then you wouldn't appreciate the light without the darkness.
That's right.
So we need the storms to build us up, to build our character, to help us become more emotionally intelligent.
And I believe that my own lineage is really showing me this. Like when I have the construct of the German father, who's then the controlling mind, and just not allowing myself to listen and feel my feminine, that is my internal shadow that I've been dealing with. But as I balance these, as I really come into this higher place with spirit of being the observer, now I can balance them every day. And I can see in every moment when this dysregulation happens in my nervous system and I go one way or the other. Now there's this opportunity to find this internal peace, internal homeostasis. And that becomes my new frequency that I can hold and ground and share with others.
Absolutely. And to that point, what I've learned over my life, and that is this: if you are stressed out and you are feeling drained and you're feeling beat down from the time structures, not only the 50% racial taxes got you down, but then life on top of that gotten you down because financially or health reasons or relationship reasons or just family reasons in general or just work career or any of those that's storms that you may be in that's really draining you on top of the racial construct, that the best way to navigate your way through that, I'm not just saying this because it sounds nice, I'm saying this from experience. And I've seen it, I felt it, I'm still experiencing it to this day. The best way to navigate your way through that is to service to others. That's what we were put here on this earth to be, is to be connected, problem solvers, and helping someone else. That's our natural DNA default system, is to be giving and serving and helping others.
Yeah.
And the construct tells us it's not. And it convinces us that we should only do that 10% of our time, 10% of our money, and do that as a voluntary activity. That's where our niceness and kindness should be bundled into that. And then live in his world of fighting and divisiveness and anger and drainage 90% of the time. I think that's sanity. That's, to me, the definition of insanity.
Yeah. Definitely collective shadow. And I'm curious, King, about your coming out of the bubble. You talk about people who have been just in one city their whole life. And I know that a bit about you. And so I'm curious how you've emerged from the construct and how you find yourself in this fully human conversation with me. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes. As you mentioned earlier with Rachel in the storm, see, I went through my storm. My whole life, I spent my life believing that my identity was my race. And I leaned into that with pride, so much so that it became everything I was in. And people who knew me knew that as much as I could, I was going to talk about Black success and Black history and Black excellence and the importance of Black folks coming together and each one teach one. I believe in that fully. I believe in it, understood the history. I studied under Chinkhata Diop and Dr. John Henry Clark and all the African scholars that helped me understand that I was never a victim and that we were great kings and queens in Africa. I got that teaching and understanding of that. And Malcolm X autobiography shaped my mentality and gave me purpose for the first time in my life. That education was something to be cherished and honored and not something to be wasted. So all of that gave me focus and purpose to now when I take my real estate knowledge, I learned how to do real estate and I brought a systems thinking to real estate of how do you buy a community together? How do you structure that? How do you make sure that everyone in the community benefits, not just buy one house, put money in it, sell it? I can never really get that singular model. I always had to think, how can I buy the whole neighborhood? How can we redevelop it? Even before I knew what a developer was, I was always thinking from a system, how do we scale it? How do we duplicate it? How do we create more impact from it? So I took that thinking to Baltimore City and brought up properties in Baltimore City because Baltimore City at the time I came in with 14,000 blighted vacant properties that were desolate neighborhood houses falling down where there was nothing but just a front door because the roof was gone, the back was gone, the basement was gone. It was literally just a facade of a house and a whole block of that. The children had to walk through to get to school every day. And the drugs and all the violence and crime that was happening in those blocks because of those blighted houses, that was at the core of the crime. So you eliminate the housing issue by renovating those housing and create beautiful communities that children can walk down. You're going to eliminate 50% of the criminal activities right there. And then allow folks who live in those communities to buy those properties, empower them through credit and financial education set. While they're living in the property, the lease to own model, they can actually then purchase the property in 5 years, getting their credit through slowly, getting their credit increase. And now not only will they have equity in the property, but they pay down the property by adding a $500 a month payment more to their mortgage to pay down the principal. So they have equity and they have the cash that they pay down the property, which gives them $50,000 of ownership immediately cash when they take ownership of the property, no matter what the market does, right? And got to the point where I was able to raise $1 million and had a whole 60 houses under my belt and people living in those houses and affecting that change into COVID. And then COVID showed me that the commonality of shared trauma of being Black wasn't enough to sustain that storm. And they showed me that all the Black power and right old man went out the window. They didn't have an opportunity to pay the rent. They chose not to pay the rent. My investors didn't care about the fact that my tenants are not paying the rent and I can't evict them. They wanted their money back. So what I saw from both sides, whether it's love for conscious capitalism, a love for conscious community, a love for King as it was when things were going great, it was, where's my money? And that showed me there where I had to lose my identity, which meant rock bottom. When you lose your identity, that means rock bottom. For example, let me show you what I mean. When a homeless person, what they were before they were homeless, they were a person with a name that had an address. So when they lost their actual property, they lose their identity. They become homeless. They thrown into that group.
Yeah.
They no longer have a name.
I just want to call it what it is. That's a death.
Right. And
It's a death. You don't physically die, but there's so much of you that goes through that death process. And I just recognize it as a death doula and a grief guide that you don't have to actually lose your life to lose your identity. And that's really what you went through.
Absolutely. And that's what helped me. But I needed that because I never would be here without that.
Yeah.
And that's what I realized. That's the growth that I had to understand that didn't happen to me. It happened as me. It
Yeah.
happened as me because of what I was not ready for, what I was trying to build. I wasn't ready to be the face of a conscious capitalism movement that had never been built before.
You
Right?
got to be stripped down and resurrected.
Exactly. I had to go through that. I had to learn what it means to start over from scratch so I can understand when I look at another person who has nothing, I can empathize, not judge them.
Yep.
I
And
can
then you
say,
can actually see me going through that as well.
exactly. I can see it
And
in other
know,
people.
yeah, and then know what we need for support. You're like, I just went through that. You're just coming through it too. So yeah, going through the wreckage and normalizing that and being like, oh, this is a storm. I'm actually letting go of everything. Everything that I thought I was isn't. Isn't. Yeah.
And that's a hard spot to hit because it literally is the rock bottom where you choose either, I have to say one choice or another, yes or no. Yes, continue to die, or no, change. There is no other options. You hit that point. That's literally the rock bottom. And the greatest people who we admire in our lives went through their rock bottom.
Yeah. And I'd like to point out just our friend Rachel that we've been qualifying as a deserving soul because she was just recently in that point of being at rock bottom and saying, okay, this is it. This is the end of my life. And choosing, making that yes, I'll find another way. And watching that be a conscious decision to do that was a miracle for me to witness. And that's why I feel like not only are we connected to her, but we're also sharing her story because it's such a miracle that when you're in that place, that you actually look out at who else is in that place and continue to be this outstretching hand for support.
Absolutely. And you brought racial to me as a way of testing my desire to say, after going through my storm and realizing the energy is everything and the energy can be measured and that there's a vibrational frequency that I can achieve if I start focusing on love, energy, and doing things out of love, not out of greed, not out of lack, not out of manipulation, but truly because I care to lift up another person, then you gave me an opportunity to test that. And you said, I have a friend of mine named Rachel that needs help. And through that creative endeavor, this campaign that we're building was born, where I brought in my experience with building systems and travel resident systems, combined with your love energy of understanding what it feels like to be a deaf doula and the wisdom of humanity and love. And we combine that into this campaign that we built for Rachel here, which I'm sharing the screen, that we're going to build it through sacred geometry, where we form tribes, because realizes that it's not just about helping Rachel because Rachel is lacking something. Let's get clarity on it. It's not sympathy with Rachel. It's not that kind of energy at all. It's
Nope.
the energy of building towards someone who is a deserving soul. And you and I both, as being fully human, accept that we're governed by the law of service. And through the law of service, we have to lift up others. The deserving soul that we choose in this particular moment is Rachel. And she's in a storm, as you laid out. She has her physical challenges because of her health crisis. She had a tumor the size of a grapefruit. She had to go to Europe in order to have an operation that wasn't going to be performed here in the United States because the American system, healthcare, is not prepared for that kind of operation. So imagine that, folks, to be told there's nothing we can do for you, and you feel your body literally dying and you're not getting the help you deserve, but you feel that you need. And you have to take a risk to fly to another country that you've never been to just for an operation. Imagine how much faith you have to have in that moment to make those decisions. And then have a loving partner, husband, friend that you're recently broken up with, and you reach back out to him and say, I need you right now. And he steps up and he helps you without any hesitation, without throwing in your face. At your worst moment, he steps up and gives you that love.
Mm.
That's true love energy. And that's my reason for wanting to be involved with the campaign, is because that's the true story of love right there, not the movie scripts and all the stuff around Valentine's Day. Love is when it's ugly, when a person is sitting there and they need you, and you are there 100% for them to the point where they have a knowing, and that knowing gives them strength to want to continue with their lives.
Yeah.
And Rachel was there at that spot, and she was able to still have strength enough that anytime she had a chance where the pain wasn't just excruciating, think about, I want to help other people not go through what I'm going. That's what she's thinking about at that time. And that's why she's a deserving soul in my eye.
Yeah.
And so we build a movement around that, because you and I both are building a movement. It's a fully human movement. And to be a part of the fully human movement, we believe that the best way to come into the fully human movement is not through your money, not through your donation, not through your just shared alignment, but through your law of service, through your willingness to match us and match our $33 donation, as you and I have both done, and join our tribe, become a third person. We can now donate $99 to Rachel, because we're doing it through sacred geometry. Because not only is it a donation, and it's not really, it's a gift that we're gifting up her, because she's going to create Goddess Tears, a nonprofit organization that's designed to help people exactly in the health crisis that she is, that's dealing with financial challenges, that's dealing with how to navigate the American health system, that's dealing with, I don't know where to go for resources. Goddess Tears will be that nonprofit for that. That's what makes her our deserving soul. And so it's lift her up first, get her physically ready, energized, and in a position to be at her highest creative liberation. Then she employs that through Goddess Tears. And so we're looking for 30, I'll be looking for one person right now who's won the matches. And then through that effort, folks, this is where the beauty of this is through sacred geometry, is that not one person has to do all the heavy lifting, because we want to raise $99,000 for Rachel's campaign. Again, sacred geometry. But we're saying that if 3,000 people were to donate or gift $33, that now becomes at 99. So not one doing it. It's like a bee. We're all vibrating our wings together successfully to now show unity. And through that endeavor, we achieve greatness.
Yes.
So with that being said, we're going to get ready to wrap up our show. But I wanted to share with you all, this is Rachel's campaign here. We're going to put the link in here. And we're showing you that basically she went through what she went through. And we know a lot of people out there still dealing with that. And we want to help Rachel first, because she's only the first deserving soul that we're going to help. Then after we help her nonprofit, and then what you're doing with Trendy Peak Foundation is going to begin to help other people who are dealing with grief issues, dealing with health issues. And now we have these nonprofit entities that are designed to meet people where they are and provide them the services so that folks don't have to go through what I went through with my mother and the decisions I had to make through. That's what you come through with Trendy Peak. And so that's why this stuff that we're building is so valuable, folks, is that we are supporting investors and entrepreneurs and leaders who want to do greater things in the world and just look out for their own financial best interests. That's what makes them fully human.
Yeah.
And the last thing is I want to share, well, this is our GoFundMe page that we're going to list out for Rachel. You can see right now where the current donations are. And we're just asking, Jess and I both donated $33. Match our donation, go to our campaign. We'll put the link here in the description of the replay, and gift your $33. And then once you do that, reach back out to us and let us know you've done it. We want to give you love. We want to appreciate you. And then if you're open to building, we want to look at how we can build with you. So that's our intentionality. I hope you all are feeling us and vibrating. And Jess, you have any closing comments that you want to make before we get ready to end today's broadcast?
Oh, I'm grateful for this time and the space to actually bring Rachel present to the conversation. It's such a gift to be in her presence and to feel her love energy that is expanding through every breath. And I'm just wondering, you mentioned her journey to Croatia and having a surgery. I know you've been writing and creating these frequency signals. And what I'd love to ask for at this point is one of those signals. Is there any way you could play us out with a Rachel tune?
Yeah, actually, let's see if we can do that. Give me 1 second here.
Put you on the spot.
Yeah, I see. Let's also see if we can get a message from Rachel here as well. Let's see.
I did just get a voicemail from her yesterday, just sharing her love. Oh, I can't hear it, King.
Yeah, let me start it over. Can you hear it now?
No. Nope, can't hear it.
Okay.
Audio settings.
Yeah, that's not good. All right. Well, here's what we do.
Yeah. Maybe what we could do is put the link in the comments of the podcast.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah. And then listeners can go ahead, or viewers can go ahead and click on that and listen to the story and watch Rachel's video, because we just don't quite hit on it. And speaking of her, it's really worth listening yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, any closing thoughts you have before we close out?
Yeah, there's something about our collective shadow, our collective grief, and the opportunity that we have to look at that and discuss that together. Because what it's creating is more opportunities for shifting into the state of gratitude and love. So I'm just really present to that today, what we're doing, and that it's profound. So thank you for inviting me into the Fully Human movement and for having this discussion today.
I'm glad that you're here with me, Jess, and that you're building with me. And I want to add that as we wrap up our show, that your presence has been something that's been inspiring to me, inspiring me in the way that you bring true love energy to every conversation that we have. And that's what I respect and I appreciate. And that's what I believe, that as you and I grow, what we can do together, what we can build together, is this movement of individuals who are tired of the construct beating you down and you're looking for a way out. And we invite you to join us and match us. Feel how it does feel to lift someone else up without expectation of return. I'm not asking what you're getting out of it, but what is it doing for you? What is it doing to you? That's a question you want to ask yourself when you just give $33 to someone else and lift them up, and join us in this Fully Human movement as we look to co-create and build fully human sanctuaries, and invite people that visit us in Kenya, and we have a location there, in Colombia, or anywhere else that we're building within the United States, to these fully human sanctuaries. This is going to be a movement of true creative liberation, but it starts with seeing each other as fully humans. And we can't bypass that, folks. We can't just ignore that and just get right to building, because it just doesn't work. This is the path. This is the way. Thank you all for listening. And so until next Wednesday at 2 p.m., Jess, that's all work to continue to try to be more fully human.
Let's do it.
We're going to end out here. We're going to end on our song, Race is a Lie. And we'll promise that next time we'll play Goddess Tears for everybody and send out the link for it. You can hear it and share in the enthusiasm and love for Rachel.
Yeah, thank you.
You turned a season of control into your reason. You tied your sovereign frequency to a label made of dust and called it identity when it was engineered distrust. They tethered your children to the frequency of fear. 350 years and the tether's still here. You wear the skin suit like a heavy winter coat while you're trying to cross the water. It's the stone in the boat. Race is a lie, a ghost in the machine, a veil over the eye. Race is a lie, a script for the managed, a reason to die. It's the dementia, the spirit, it's the glitch in the code. It's the heavy, heavy baggage on a sovereign road. Dissolve the construct, right? Yeah, you accept it with pride. You wear it like a crown, but it's just a velvet rope.